What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another masterclass here with AJ. AJ, how are we doing, man?
I'm doing great, Austin. Excited to be back for another one.
Excited to have you here. This is the first time I've interviewed you live, so excited to pull some knowledge from you, add some value to people. We got some people joining, so it'll be a little bit before we really ramp up. But for those that are on, be sure to drop questions down below. This is set up for you guys. This isn't set up for me. It's not set up for AJ. It's really set up to add value to you. So our intention of this is to give you guys the most amount of value possible. So if you can drop questions down below, that would be super, super helpful. We'll get to the questions in about 30 minutes or so after we do a little bit of Q&A. So why don't, before we jump into some of the sauce, AJ, why don't you just give a quick intro about who you are, where you're from, what do you do, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm an entrepreneur from New York. I'm actually living in Vietnam the last 6-7 years. So I've been doing the digital nomad thing, which has been a lot of fun. And Instantly has been a big part of making that possible, being able to run a cold email agency from anywhere in the world. I started Revenue Boost 4.5 years ago, where we're just exclusively a cold email outbound agency. We also do the appointment setting for our clients, so we help them a little bit with the sales end. Yeah, that's what I do now. I built multiple agencies before, so that was actually how I found cold email, was using cold email to grow a different agency, and then I just really fell in love with it and wanted to start helping others with it.
Yeah, I love it. Why don't you maybe share a little bit about the journey of landing on cold email? Because I mean, you've been in the sales game for quite some time, and it's led you to cold email, and you've made a career, been successful around it. So how'd you get here?
Yeah, for sure. So I started my first marketing agency maybe 8 years ago, and we were doing Facebook and Google ads. We were doing local lead gen and then national lead gen. We operated on like a pay per lead model, where we would have like very high volume lead buyers, and we would charge them $50-100 per lead. And then we would pay for the ad spend and then kind of make the margin on it. So it was pretty cool business. But really, like, everything I tried to get clients just didn't really work. Like at first I made the mistake of just trying every acquisition channel, posting on social media, running ads, going to events and BNI networking groups and everything. And nothing was really working. It was kind of frustrating at first. Cause I think when I started, I had quit my job with like very little savings. I had like maybe 4 months of savings, which was not very smart in hindsight, but it ended up working just at the right time. But anyways, after months of not getting any clients and having to almost like go back to my old job, I just stopped doing everything. And I realized, like, what's one thing I can just do and really focus on? And I thought about cold email, because previously when I was in the corporate world, I was doing outbound sales, like door-to-door sales and telemarketing and building sales teams. So I didn't really know much about marketing and like social media, but I knew a lot about just the whole like outbound sales. And I thought, okay, I could apply that digitally and then just do cold emails, right? Or reach out to people on LinkedIn. So I kind of realized, like, I already know how to do this. I just need to focus on one thing, and just really blasted cold email. And this was before Instantly was even around. So it was a lot harder to do before Instantly. Everyone that has Instantly now has it way, way easier.
Yeah.
But I remember doing like manual cold emails and even like BCCing 100 people on an email or whatever. Anyways, just like actually focusing on that one thing and just lasering in, landed a bunch of clients, got my agency to like 10, 20K a month pretty quickly. Didn't have to, go back to my old job, and then just grew it from there. And along the way of like, so cold email became our acquisition channel. At that point I had built a team, and all of our clients were coming from cold email. And along the way, like, I was posting about our wins and other like mastermind groups and coaching groups I was in with other agencies. And all these people were asking me, like, how are you getting your clients? Like, how are you using cold email? And I was just showing other people, kind of helping out like my peers for free, essentially. But then I realized how much demand there was and how curious people were to learn this. And again, to me, it kind of came naturally because I'd just been doing outbound sales in my corporate job, but a lot of other people in the digital world weren't really like familiar with that, right? And it wasn't that popular at this point because, again, tools like Instantly hadn't come out and just made it like way more accessible. So long story short, I was helping people for free. And then I started taking on some like paid consulting clients. And then just seeing how much demand there was, I decided to start a new agency. Because at that point, my business partner and I had split up. We had kind of had different visions for the business. So I left. He still runs the company. And at that time, I was like, what do I want to do? And I really just loved like building the cold email engine and just seeing how much interest there was just from even like a few posts I made. And started Revenue Boost, where we just are, 100% cold email lead gen agency, primarily for SaaS companies and other agencies.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, that's interesting because you were doing paid media for other people, and then you decided to go with the cold email route. So maybe share like a little bit, because I think it's natural if people, oh, I'm going to post, I'm going to do paid, I'm going to try all these different things. Like, why have you stuck with cold email as a client acquisition mechanism and gone all in on it versus like, oh, I'm going to master social media, I'm going to master ads, I'm going to master SEO, whatever the other platforms are? Like, why have you stuck around with cold email just as a mechanism for this long?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I do like since I've started the business, I've like tried to learn a lot and do a lot of, social media and ads, and just at least kind of be like very well, well versed as a marketer. But cold email is by far the number one thing I've doubled down on and always will always see as like the core skill set. And two reasons. One, I mean, like I mentioned to before, because I did outbound sales in the corporate world in my previous lifetime, I just like understood that very well. Whereas like going into like SEO or paid ads or social media would have just been a whole lot more to learn. Because when I was running that agency, I had a business partner that handled all of the media buying, and I was really doing the sales and business development. So I guess part of it came that I had a little bit of prior knowledge. So I figured for me it was the easiest to start. But the reason I stuck with it and the reason I just fully doubled down on it is because I think it's the most versatile marketing tool for any business, especially B2B businesses, because like other channels like SEO, like certain things don't work for every business, or they don't work very well or are very profitable for every business, right? Like, let's say that you're a B2B business and your total addressable market is like 5,000 companies. If you have a very, niche market, right? It's really hard or almost impossible to do ads at that point, right? Maybe you can do like a little bit of retargeting, but in a lot of spaces, ads don't really work. Social media, SEO, those things are great as well. I do a lot of social media content creation, but I see that more as like for building the brand. This is like a great tool for generating sales. But then what you do with that traffic is then you can reach out to people and have like warm leads to do outbound too. But yeah, I think, ads in a lot of channels are problematic in some spaces. Social media SEO work in most spaces, but still some it can, not be as effective. And also a lot of those channels take a while. Ads is quick, right? But it takes a lot of capital, right? And then social media and SEO, like you really need to be doing those for like 6 to 12 months before you can hope to get a return. So to me, once I had tried everything, I just realized like cold email is the least capital intensive, right? You could just start with literally $100 a month for an instantly subscription and test something out, right? Like if you had a business idea and something you wanted to try out, you could literally in half an afternoon get campaigns up, probably even faster now because of all the AI features, and a couple $100 and you can now like test a new business idea. Like that's insane, right? So just low cost. It works quickly because it's a direct response mechanism. That doesn't mean your first campaign is always going to be a big success, but like you could get leads in the first month or two after enough testing compared to waiting like 6-12 months for like an organic channel. And I just think it works for every business because at the end of the day, everybody has an email address. Like even on Facebook, when there's maybe a billion, like almost 2 billion users now, probably even more, even with how many users Facebook has, it's not as many as how many people have emails, right? So I think it's like just the most useful across any business you could want to start.
Yeah.
And lowest risk.
I like it. Yeah. The precision and speed of that. And yeah, I like the lowest risk because again, like you can just slap up an email campaign literally in an afternoon out instantly and get some data back. Get some data back on your offers, what's actually working well and what's actually worth spending time on.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, everybody watching, drop your questions in the comments down below. AJ is going to be answering them here in about 20 minutes or so, or 15, 20 minutes. AJ, he's ran close to 1,000 campaigns. He's been doing outbound for 12 years, multiple 7 figures generated from cold email alone, multiple 8 figures in pipeline, and he's booking a few hundred meetings per month with cold email. So guys, drop your questions down below. This is your time to get them answered from AJ. We're going to try to go through as many as possible. So this is for you guys. Drop your questions down below so we can get to them and add value to you. Okay, let's transition a little bit, AJ. Kind of want to hear, okay, I just touted all those numbers, 700 campaigns, Like, what would you say is the first thing if I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, I really want to have success with cold email. I really want to be able to crush it, book meetings, grow my business, get feedback, all that sort of stuff. What's the first thing I should be thinking about before I even decide to go and try cold email as a mechanism to get clients?
Yeah, so I think half the battle is really the offer, and the offer could be what you're selling or like, what you're selling on the front end. Let's say it's a lead magnet or you're giving people an audit over a call. It's essentially what you're telling them, hey, I'm going to give you this in return for hopping on a call with me. Because I think, there's a lot we can definitely talk about today with copy and deliverability and list building and all that's super important, right? You kind of need every component to work well together. But from running so many campaigns for so many different clients, the biggest factor I've seen is just the offer. Because like we could take the same playbook for one client and they could get 5 meetings a month or 8 meetings a month. And we could take that same playbook for another client that's getting like 50 meetings a month. Like we had one client that got 40 meetings in the first month, 50 meetings the second month. Same playbook as another client we were running side by side, but the only difference is just the offer and the inherent product market fit. And not just the offer, but also who, like you could kind of have like a new offer if you position your offer to a different market and focus on a different benefit. So I think that's where people need to spend the most of their time and energy is, what's the offer? How am I positioning that and to whom? Because, everything else to me is just like the wrapping paper, right? Around the gift, but the gift is the offer. Like no amount of persuasion is going to help, make a bad offer like appealing, right? So that's, I think, where everyone should focus the most energy on, but obviously every part matters in an interconnected system.
Yeah. Can you give me like an example of an offer that wouldn't work versus an offer that would work, maybe from like a past experience, past client? Because I think people hear offer a lot, like that term is thrown out, $100 million offers, I need offer. But what does that actually mean?
Yeah. So the best way I could explain it is like so there's a difference between a service and an offer, right? A service is, so I work with a lot of like digital marketing agencies, right? And they're notoriously, like bad at this, right?
Yeah.
Is they sell digital marketing services, right? Or, hey, I'll do social media for you. I'll run ads for you. Or they just say, hey, like, I offer digital marketing services. That's a service, right? But that's not an offer. An offer could be, hey, we'll help bring in, 50 new appointments to your dental clinic for teeth whitening services this month, right? And an offer doesn't have to have like a crazy guarantee on it. You can, but a guarantee to me is just a component of an offer. I think a lot of people think the offer is like having some crazy guarantee or claim, but really it's just a specific outcome to a specific avatar, right? That solves a specific problem. So all of you guys have services, but you might be talking about your services too much, where your offer is really nailing that like that specific way you're packaging it to one specific avatar. So the best way you can remember it is one specific problem being solved, one specific outcome associated with that for one specific person. So if you offer a lot of different services now and you're, let's say a jack of all trades, you really got to think about like, what's one thing I can really just package as a very tailored solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rather than saying we run ads, we help you get 50 whitening clients, in the next 30 days. Yeah.
Cause that's what everyone says, right? Like you guys have to realize that everyone's doing cold email now, right? Not everyone, but a lot of people are, right? So if whoever you're selling to, unless you're in a very like random obscure niche, for most of you guys, whoever you're selling to, they're probably getting 5-10 other cold emails the same day, right? And probably from other people just like you. So you really have to focus on not saying the same thing everyone else does and differentiate, which the offer is a very very powerful way to do that. And I just want to touch on positioning, like I mentioned before. So if you have an offer and you want to position it differently for a different target market, that's another way you can kind of get creative with it as well. So an example from a past client is we helped a client that does IT disposal, meaning like big companies, if they want to upgrade their computers or their phones or any like technology, they can't just like throw out their old computers and phones, right? They have to actually dispose of it in a certain way because of like environmental hazards. So anyways, long story short, there's certain companies that you have to hire to dispose of like old technology and hardware. And for the longest time, we were just reaching out to IT leaders saying, hey, we can help you, get rid of your old hardware every time you upgrade and you don't have to spend time on it. And that worked. But then we decided, hey, what if we just targeted CFOs at this company and said, hey, we're going to get rid of your old hardware, but also we're going to resell it for you. And you might be able to get 20 to 30% back of your IT budget because we're going to take this to our distributors, right? So it's the same service, but now we're positioning it as a different offer for a different ICP. And that campaign worked surprisingly well. And I would have never even thought of positioning it for finance people until I just like did a customer interview and found out that this was like some of their clients. So yeah, you can get creative. Like you don't have to necessarily change what you're selling, but you could just change how you're positioning it to a different market or a different ICP, and it can work really well.
Yeah. Be curious, people watching, if you want to drop your offer in the comments, we can maybe go through some of them and provide some feedback based off of that. Okay. So we have our offer. So how do we, if I have my offer, okay, cool, I'm going to do dental, or my offer is I'm going to help book appointments. How do we finesse this into like, okay, how do I pick the right lists? How do I write the right copy for this so that I can actually tie this offer into a campaign? Because I think a lot of people think, okay, I need to freaking get as many people as possible. I need to blast this offer. That's just, I'm going to help you book appointments and get it to in front of as many people as possible. How do you make that offer relevant to specific niches? And then like, what's like the testing framework for all that sort of stuff? That's kind of a mouthful, but interpret it as you need and answer it as you need.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that's like one of the most important things is how do you actually go from, I have this offer to how do I sell it in a systemized way that's not just sending out the same offer to hundreds of thousands of people, right? Because that really used to work a couple of years ago, but nowadays a lot more people are doing cold emails. So you really have to get segmented with it and specific and personalized. Because otherwise, if you send the same message to hundreds of thousands of people, by nature, it's going to be the copy is going to be very diluted because you'll have to kind of make it generic enough so it sounds good to everyone. And to me, one of the most, or probably the most important thing about your messaging is the specificity, right? So if you have an offer and you're thinking, how do I split this up? How do I build a list? How do I, A/B test all this and just, put it all together? The first thing that we do with our clients is we will just basically brainstorm every possible use case. So we'll just sit down, pen and paper, and also, kind of use AI to expand on this, right? And just think, okay, here's what we're selling. Here's the benefits of it. Here's the problems it solves. What are all the different people we could sell to? And so first we start with companies, like, are there, is there, a few different industries we're working with, right? If you're doing this for clients, like if you're a cold email agency, you can just interview your clients on this or have them fill out a form. But if you're doing this for your own business, just think like, what are the main, ICPs, right? So if you don't really know, just go back and look in your CRM, look at the last, clients you've closed over the last year or however long you've been in business, and just start to put them together in groups, right? So typically it's going to be by industry and company size. And the reason I say that is because with company size, you wouldn't want to send the same offer or the same messaging to a company with 5 people as a company with 5,000 people, because the contexts are different, the problems they solve are different, just everything is different about that sales process, right? So typically the 2 most important things is grouping by industry or company size, because those are the 2 things that will cause you to have to differentiate your messaging the most. Once you have your groups, then you can think about job titles, right? So again, I don't recommend, reaching out to CEOs and CMOs and sales managers in the same email, right? Like every different function in the company should have different messaging as well. And that's typically how we split it up by function. You don't have to make every single job title in a different campaign. That's going to end up just being too much admin work. But typically the function, right? Like sales leaders, marketing leaders, CEOs, owners, operations, those should all be separate campaigns. And now, like this might sound like it's a lot of copy you have to write, but it's a lot easier now with AI. And you can just go into Instantly's Copilot and say, hey, here's my sequence for the CEOs. How would you tailor this for a COO? Or how would you tailor this for sales leaders, right? So it's actually pretty easy to spin up all these different variations with Instantly's AI tools. But anyways, so first things first is we're just basically mapping all of the different markets we want to work with, right? The company types and then the job titles at those companies. And then, you might have a long list of like 20 or 30 or 40 different potential campaigns you could run. So at this point, we're prioritizing, right? Typically for when we're starting a new outbound channel from scratch for a client, we'll usually just test maybe 3 to 5 different campaigns in the first month. So we'll look at everything we've gathered and think like, who are we the most likely to have success with, right? So again, if you're doing this for your clients, you can interview them or you can ask them to send you their CRM data. They probably already know like who their best clients are. And if you're doing this for yourself, just go back and look at your previous data, right? Like the best way to, create a plan for the future is to look at the past. Like who have you had the most success with? Who have you had the most clients in the past? Like what industries were they in? And also like what clients were the easiest to sell, the ones who stayed the longest, the ones you're the most profitable on, right? So basically step 1 is just map all the different ways you could sell your offer. Step 2 is to prioritize. And then you can actually start building your campaigns. And again, each of those different campaigns should be very, very different in messaging, because the more that you segment, the better your messaging is going to be. Because again, if I'm selling like that example before, like a dental marketing service, right? And if I'm trying to target founders of dental practices versus marketing directors, I could put them both in one campaign, but then I'm going to have to make my message generic enough so that it kind of makes sense for both. But then you're not really making it really good for either person, right? Mm-hmm. So when you have a message that's for the founders versus for the marketing directors, you can make it very specific, right? For example, marketing directors or any marketing leader, they care a lot more about, KPIs and metrics, right? Cost per click or cost per acquisition, right? Or LTV. Whereas the founder, especially if it's at a much larger company, they're going to care about revenue, growth, risk, right? Their bottom line, the company's profit, right? So whoever you're selling to, and especially as you go into larger companies, when you're selling to a specific job title versus selling to the founder, like they don't really care. I mean, of course they care about the growth of the company, but not the way a founder does. When you're selling to an executive or a manager, they care about their job and their career advancement. So you have to know what are the specific metrics or the ways that they're measured in their role, right? And speak to those versus speaking to the founder. Yeah. So that's just an example of it, but yeah, happy to riff on that more.
Yeah, no, that's super good. Basically take the offer and then segment it based off of target customers, company size, or industry, company size, and even go further with the job titles and make sure your messaging hits with the right person and people actually respond because it's actually relevant, is what I hear you saying.
Exactly. Yeah. The more specific you can make it, the better. Because again, people are getting more and more cold emails nowadays, but the way you can stand out is by being really, really specific. Like the way that you explain the problem they have, the outcomes that they would get, even down to like the case studies and the social reviews, the more specific it is to the person, the more you're going to build credibility with them, right? Because they're going to feel like, okay, this person isn't just like, I'm not just like on this random person's email list, like this person actually gets me and they understand my world, right? So they'll want to talk to you more if they feel like you kind of understand what they're dealing with and what's important to them. And it won't be a waste of time to hop on a sales call.
Yeah. Anything like with the call to action that you're seeing work better than not, especially like the agency space, or maybe even like the SaaS space? Is it, hey, let's jump on a demo call? Is it, hey, can I send you something? Like, what are you seeing from the next step in the email?
Yeah, so it's something we test a lot. And when I say we tested, what we test is like the types of call to action. So if you test like, hey, would you be interested to chat versus do you want to chat? That makes no difference, right? It's like the same thing.
Yeah.
So don't test like don't obsess over like the wording over the call to action, but the type of call to action, meaning, are you asking for a demo? Are you asking if you can send them a video? Are you offering a lead magnet, right? So I would call those like high friction CTAs. A high friction is hop on a call. A low friction is just like, hey, can I send you a one pager, or can I send you a video to watch? And then a lead magnet is like you're actually giving them something. So typically, like for us, we just try to test as much as possible. We don't like to make too many assumptions about a particular market. So we'll usually test all of the above for clients. But I can say that typically, as a rule of thumb, if you're in a more competitive market and it's very saturated, asking for a call is just going to be much, much harder, right? So like when I run outbound campaigns for my own business, selling outbound services, as you know, is like the most competitive because obviously every cold email agency does it, right? So I never just ask for a call right away. I'm just usually saying, hey, can I send you a one pager? Super, super low friction, easy to ask. Like everyone can read a one pager. It takes like 30 seconds, right? So yeah, I mean, so again, we always test all of them because you never really know. But as a rule of thumb, I found that the more competitive the market and the more aware the prospect is, aka the more times they're getting pitched similar solutions, the more you want to go for like a lower friction CTA or even just a lead magnet, right? Because that's going to be the best way to kind of get them to give you some attention and time.
Yeah, fair. Okay. Last question for me before we get into some of the questions in the comments, which we have a ton. And guys, ask questions in the comments. AJ is dropping some sauce. We've talked about offer, testing, copy, strategy, all that stuff. So drop them in the comments so that we can get to it. Okay. So people then, like, let's just say we're using a low friction call to action. Oh, can you send me your lead magnet? Talk to me about like the appointment setting factor, because I think it's cool and we always like to hype up reply rates, positive reply rates, blah, 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 blah. But how are we getting people from a reply to an actual appointment? Like, what are you seeing there from tactics that can actually get people to jump on a call with you, especially with the low friction CTAs?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad you asked that because the appointments is all that matters, right? Like we've had this happen plenty of times for clients where we get them a lot of leads, but they don't even sometimes know that we have a spreadsheet with all their leads on it. They're just like, well, I didn't see that many on my calendar this week, right?
Yeah.
So leads that don't book on your calendar don't make you any money, right? Unless you nurture them then eventually. But at the end of the day, they have to make it on your calendar one way or another. So yeah, definitely there's a few things that we've tested and tweaked a lot here. Because for us, the way that our agency works is we generate the positive reply, but we also have a SDR that will book them on the client's calendar. So we're basically like doing appointments as a service. Definitely speed to lead has been the biggest thing, which is why Instantly's AI reply agent is like such a useful thing that everybody should be taking advantage of. Because if you think about it, if you email someone and then they reply to you and they're like, oh, hey, I'm interested to chat. And you reply back within 5 minutes, or the AI does, they're probably still at their computer with their email inbox open, right? So it's all about kind of catching them in the heat of the moment. Whereas if you email them back the next day, like who knows when they actually see it again, right? And then also it's kind of like their interest is the highest because cold email is like a demand generation channel, right? It's not like SEO where someone's coming to you and they're already looking for the thing. Most of the time with cold email, you're saying, hey, here's this thing that you should be interested in. Do you want to explore it? And people are like, okay, yeah, I'll check that out. So it's not already on their mind, right? So the time when their interest is the highest is like right when you first brought it to them. And you've kind of piqued their interest, but then as they leave their computer, as they go about the rest of their day, there's thousand other priorities, other things happening. It's almost like I like to imagine it like a hot lead is like a fire, right? And if you don't keep adding wood to it, it's eventually going to just go out, right? So the second that a lead is generated, it's basically just like decaying as more time goes on. So Out of everything we tested, I think speed to lead makes the biggest difference. We've seen like twice, sometimes even 3 times the amount of leads book appointment once we started actually getting like our speed to lead to 5-10 minutes. So it makes a huge difference. I'd say that more than anything with like the messaging or the follow-ups or anything else is just if you could just reply quickly, that's going to make the hugest difference. And my light just broke. Look at that.
Scared me.
You can still see me, right?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so definitely speed to lead is a huge factor. Beyond that, definitely the follow-ups. Like we regularly, so if you get a positive reply, don't expect that you'll just email them one time with the calendar link and they're going to book in. I would say we probably get more than half our bookings from people that reply positively, and then we email them and then they don't book in, and then we'll still email them like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Like at the end of the day, they said they were interested, so why would you not keep following up with them? Our rule is we typically keep following up until they say that they're good or they book on the calendar. And we'll space it out more, so it's not about being annoying, right? Like typically, like if we're going past 2, 3, 4 follow-ups, then we'll maybe follow up once a week to once every 2 weeks, etc. So you have to kind of play that game as well. But yeah, I'd say the follow-ups as well as the speed to lead are the most important. And then beyond that, in terms of like, especially when you're giving lead magnets, you can see appointments drop because you're going to get more people say yes to getting a lead magnet, but then they're going to have a lower chance of actually booking a demo than if you just ask them for a demo, right? So at that point, like you have to kind of sell the demo, but our favorite thing to do with lead magnets is actually come up with lead magnets that require you to be on a call. So instead of saying like, here's an ebook or here's a case study, try to have a lead magnet that actually that has to be like delivered over a call. That way it's just like a way to get someone on a call. So examples would be giving someone a custom audit, coming up with a strategy or custom plan, or you can just do a deliverable for someone. Like, let's say you're a content agency, do like 5 LinkedIn posts for someone for free, and then say, hey, great, well, let's hop on a call so that I can actually make posts that are relevant for you and I can talk to you about your ICP more, right? So that's I think the best thing everyone could do, and also those are just more inherently valuable, right? Because people know that like at the end of the day, especially now with AI content, I think any kind of downloadable resource is just going down in inherent value. But actually spending time with someone is like way up in value because they know that that's really like worth money. So those are definitely my favorite lead magnets and just the most likely to actually lead to a call rather than just, being ghosted.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a huge takeaway, and something that we've tested too is like jumping on a call for the lead magnet and positioning it. Once they say yes to like, it requires a call so that you can deliver the lead magnet in the most valuable way to that specific prospect. So good stuff. Okay, I'm gonna scroll through some of these questions and we're going to get after it. Let's start with Shada. Cleaned leads, wrote sequences. Reply rate is less than 1% with open rate more than 60%. What do you think Shada should be looking at in his campaigns?
Yeah, so I would say whenever we're diagnosing an underperforming campaign, there's typically 5 things we're looking at. There's really only 5 things that could possibly affect, whether a cold email campaign performs or not. So there's the copy, there's, what you're saying, there's a list, there's who you're reaching out to, there's the offer, like what you're actually selling and offering in exchange for a call with you. Then there's the email deliverability. And then the 5th is the volume. So like the first 4 are really a function of the performance and the effectiveness. And the 5th is just the volume, because there's been plenty of times where I've looked over consulting clients, cold email campaigns, and they're like, hey, why am I not getting leads? And they've only sent like 50 emails a day, right? So you could actually have pretty good campaigns, but you're maybe just not getting enough leads, or you're just not getting enough sense, right? So, because really we found that you really need, like across most industries, you really need one positive reply for every like 300 to 400 contacts is pretty standard across a lot of industries we've tested. So I think a lot of people just really underestimate the amount of volume they need. But anyways, it's really one of those 5 factors. So it's hard to say shout out without actually looking at the campaigns of the copy. But if you just go one by one from those 5 factors and just see like where did I maybe drop the ball here? You might have an answer for your next step. But really, it's just about testing, right? So look at those 5 things, see where you think you could improve, and then just test that next, right? Keep everything else the same, but just maybe try a different list or try a different template for copy, or try a different lead magnet. And then if that doesn't work, move on to the next one, right? So it's just really like a rinse and repeat process.
Yeah, love it. Good answer. And Shada, feel free to drop another comment if you want us to dive in deeper on that. All right, Mobin, when we write Instantly's copy feature, do you recommend writing the entire email with AI or creating each section separately?
Each section separately, does he mean like different templates, do you think?
Probably like intro, offer, call to action.
Okay,
Like, how are,
yeah.
I guess maybe we could just make this question more AI related. Like, how are you using AI to write your copy or help with copy? If so, if you are.
Yeah, so we'll typically like human write the 80% of it and then use AI to personalize certain parts of it, right? So like the way that the value proposition comes out, the call to action we want to use, like that we're deciding like what to use, what to say ourselves and writing that ourselves. But we're using AIs usually for the first line and the icebreaker, or for personalizing certain parts just based on, whatever about that email we want to like research about a prospect.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'd say usually it's around 20%. That's not to say you can't write the whole email with AI. I mean, for us, like we're pretty good at copywriting, and I've been doing this a while, so I have a great team for this. But especially I think if you're a beginner and you're still trying to get the hang of copy and it's kind of feels very foreign to you, I think you can't go wrong with just having AI write the whole sequence, because especially Instantly's AI is trained on like cold emails that have run through their platform, right? So they have all this unique data on like what actually works, versus if you just go into ChatGPT and say, write me a cold email, it's going to be trash, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think you can go wrong writing the whole thing with AI, but we typically don't, because we like to really curate each part, and we have just a lot of frameworks we use for that. But yeah, that's how we use it.
Cool. Yeah, good answer. I'll do like this question from Alexi, maybe more so from like your biz dev perspective. I think that's kind of what he's saying. For cold email to work, do we need to initially seek out clients with offers that are truly in demand in the market? So like, how are you evaluating who you want to work with as a cold email agency?
Yeah, so if you're selling cold emails as a service, you definitely want to vet the client's offer as well. When I started my cold email agency, we just took on generally any client, because it just got kind of good to see like where you get your feet wet, and just learn by experience what kind of clients you like working with versus what you don't. But for us, like the biggest factor is the actual offer they sell. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly, right? Because we're not fortune tellers here as marketers. If you're kind of on the fence about a client, you could just go for it and do a test. There's been times where I've been surprised that a client's offer has worked so well because I just didn't fully understand that market, right? So if you're a little on the fence, then I would just say go for it and just do like a 90-day test period with a client. But examples of what we avoid or the clients we look for one thing, we do like anything tech or SaaS, because if you think about it, someone creates a SaaS or a technology because they have a specific problem that isn't being solved in the industry, right? Like they kind of inherently have some level of product market fit and like a very specific use case. So SaaS and tech companies are great because they're just very, very specific in nature. So it's a lot easier to write copy around that. Versus if you target like a digital marketing agency and they don't have any like specificity to what they're doing, you're going to then have to be really, really creative to help them like create an offer out of their services, right? Because they're not like working in a specific vertical for a specific use case. So that's one thing. What we avoid is we try to avoid like custom services because they're very hard to sell. We had a client that did custom software development, and we worked with them for 6 months. And when we gave it our best shot, and we still got them meetings, but it was just like probably 5 times the amount of work to work for them versus all of our other clients, because they didn't have an offer. Again, they had custom software development, but we can't just say, hey, do you need custom software development? Nobody knows what that really means. They can't know, like a prospect's not going to connect with that, right? Mm-hmm. When someone reads your email, they have to be able to like visualize like what they're going to get and the benefit to them. So because they didn't have anything specific and they were just doing custom work, we had to basically like keep trying new offers and angles of like, you could use custom software for this, or for this, or for this. So we basically had to like constantly invent them new offers and try to help them find product market fit. And at that point, it's really like not even cold email that we're doing. It's more like sales and marketing consulting, right? So we basically did all that for free. So yeah, anything custom is definitely very difficult. Certain niches I found like recruiting and also cybersecurity are just two, niches that we generally try to avoid. What else? I mean, you can kind of get a feel, right? Like if it's a client that has a brand new offer, like they just started their business, you might be a little bit more suspicious then if they're going to have success selling it or not, right? Versus if you're talking to a client where like they've been around for a while, they have a team already, they've grown, maybe they're doing 7-8 figures already. You can assume that like just by revenue and their headcount that, okay, something's working and they have an offer that people want, right? So that'd be another thing I'd look for. And also if they're getting leads on another channel. So if they're already getting leads from one channel that's not cold email, like ads or organic or something, that's also a good sign, right? That they've validated their offer to a cold market. So those are a few things that we look for is ideally productized services, good social proof, because if they have good social proof and reputation, that's going to make it a lot easier. And they're doing a lot of revenue already. And ideally they're getting leads on one other channel. That's not to say that they have to check all those boxes, but those are some things you should look for. And if they check none of those boxes, then it might be a pretty uphill battle to get them leads.
Yeah, super solid answer. Good stuff. Let's talk about infrastructure. What does your infrastructure look like right now?
Yeah, we're doing so we use a few different vendors for inboxes because we've definitely had a lot of problems with it over the last year. Just, one vendor's inbox to go down, or Google goes down, or all of a sudden Microsoft is like really hard to land in the inbox. So just for us, because of the amount of clients we manage, we have like, I think 4 or 5 different vendors now that we work with, and we're just always kind of keeping a good roster of people that can provide us inboxes. So if you mean infrastructure in terms of like the types of email inboxes we use, so we still use G Suite and Outlook. I don't really like using the any of like custom SMTP stuff. Anytime I've tried it, it's always just been a disaster, or I've like heard of other people having a disaster with it. So I know that there's definitely like the cost effectiveness to those things, but yeah, I think Google and Outlook have always been the most reliable, and they're the most common email providers that other people use. So generally, you're kind of sending from the same system to the same system. So we're like 80% Google, 20% Microsoft. If you're targeting really big companies, then we'll use more Microsoft because bigger companies use Outlook. We have one client that targets like government organizations, so they use more Outlook. So unless it's like a particular niche like that, we're typically using mostly Google and a little bit of Outlook.
Solid. Any notes about warming up domains? Anything there that you're super keen on? Slow, lots of volume? What's that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, I think we just keep it pretty simple. I would just recommend everyone just follow all of Instantly's default settings. Like, they make it super easy for you. Like, Instantly gives you a lot of customization and flexibility over all the different campaign settings and email warm-up settings and everything. But typically, like, you just gotta, like, they have the default options, and they're default options for a reason. So I wouldn't overthink it. I would just go with the limits they recommend and spend most of your time working on like the copy, the offer, the targeting, the strategy, all the creative parts that you can influence a bit more.
Cool. Makes sense. Another cold email agency angle. How do you find clients for cold email agency? Like, what would you say to Sumit?
Well, cold email is definitely one way to start. You could try cold emailing them. But no, seriously, that's a great way to start, because if Sumit, if you're new to this, and you haven't really run cold emails for clients yet, then at least you're gonna get a lot of practice in the meantime. Even if it takes you a while to get a client, you're gonna have all these campaigns you've run, so that by the time you do get a client, you'll have some work to show, and then at least like a little bit more experience walking in. So I mean, definitely do cold email. I think it's just great to kind of take a dose of your own medicine. And when a client shows up to a sales call and you got them there through cold email and you're selling cold email services, there's a lot of alignment, and they feel like, okay, yeah, I guess this channel works because you got me here, right? So definitely do cold email. But other than that, one challenge with using cold email is that every other cold email agency does it. So it is a bit harder to stand out. It's better if you have like a very specific offer, or even something that's like low risk or free, or like a lot of social proof case studies, or ideally all of the above. So beyond that, I mean, content is great. Like, I think everyone nowadays should be building some sort of personal brand or business brand. LinkedIn and YouTube is what we're pretty focused on nowadays. I also post on Facebook and have a Facebook group, but yeah, typically for like our cold email clients, we're finding them LinkedIn, YouTube, and then podcasts is pretty great too. You don't have to do all of that, but I would just say pick like one channel to keep posting on. And that will take a while to start to actually get some traction. But in the meantime, at least you know that cold outreach can work a little bit quicker while you're kind of getting your brand built.
Yeah. Love it. And don't sell cold email, sell the offer of cold email. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is kind of a loaded question, but we'll see kind of where this takes us. Where are you sourcing outbound lists from? And then specifically B2B automotive material testing laboratory, which I'm not really clear what that means. Automotive material testing. Interesting. So yeah, I guess like we'll just make it list building in general. Like, how are you sourcing lists? Are you getting creative? Are you using AI? What's that look like?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much using all the most common sources. Like, we definitely use Instantly's database. We also use Apollo still as well. We will sometimes import lists into, well, actually pretty often we'll import lists into Clay to use AI to enrich them further and do a lot of that fancy personalization. Although I see now Instantly's been adding a lot more of capability to do that within Instantly, which is better, because it's always better if you can do everything in one tool. But yeah, generally, like, whether you're using Instantly's database, that would be the go-to. Like, especially if you're kind of new to this, just do everything within Instantly. It's just going to be the easiest. But sometimes for like specific clients, we'll go into other databases if we find that one has better coverage for that particular market. But yeah, I definitely have never had a client in B2B automotive material testing. So that would be a tricky one, but you could just take your business's homepage, like take your website homepage copy and paste it into ChatGPT and just say, hey, what filter should I use? Or what keywords should I use to find these companies using like Instantly's database, or just even plug it into Copilot is even better.
Yeah, good. Yeah, outbound list is kind of like a loaded question because it just depends.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I think this is part of the offer. When we were talking about offer, would greatly appreciate some help with the offer. I work with blank companies on increasing their web traffic and conversions. So that's what he's sending right now. Well, how can we help out Harrison here?
Yeah, so I think it's a great start because you have some specificity there and you have some pretty kick-ass client results. So I think always leading with that is good. Just a couple of things that you could think about, Harrison, to refine this a little bit. I'm also curious, Austin, if anything jumps out to you. But for me, I think one, it's like increasing web traffic and conversions. Like, how are you doing that? Are you like trying to manage my website and optimize it? Are you trying to do like SEO? If you're doing SEO, are you like building backlinks, or are you just like working on my like the technical part of my site? Are you like running ads to the site, right? So I think you get more specific on the how, and not to say you always have to get into the weeds of how you deliver your service, but I think especially when you're selling a very like commoditized offer, like I'm guessing you're selling some sort of SEO or traffic service here. Sometimes actually in a more competitive, crowded market where your customers are getting pitched a lot, it can actually be useful to get into the specifics. I know that people always say like sell the benefits, not the features, but in a competitive market, everyone's kind of selling the benefits. So sometimes actually getting into like the specific secret sauce could be useful to help you stand out. So yeah, if I saw this email, I'd be wondering like, what are you doing? Like, is it something I'm not doing already? Like if you were saying, hey, we help you increase your website traffic and conversions through backlinks, I'd be like, okay, cool. I'm not doing that already. So maybe that's worth exploring. So that could be useful. And then also if you work with a specific sector, which it looks like you do, I would talk more about like what those conversions are. So like traffic and conversions is cool, but what type of businesses are you helping, right? How would they actually refer to like that conversion? Is it a sale? Is it an appointment? Is it a consultation? Is it like an estimate if it's a construction company, right? So if you can get more specific on what that actual conversion is, again, back to like knowing your market and getting really specific in your list and using the specific language that your customers are going to use to build credibility, that's going to help a lot as well. So I would actually just like call out what the conversion type is, because it sounds like here you're targeting a particular industry anyway. So I would just use the however they refer to like a sale or an appointment.
Yeah, solid. Would agree with you. I think the main thing that stood out to me based off of what you were saying, AJ, was like the specificity of like, okay, that's the offer, but how do you break that in to be more specific for who you're actually reaching out to and what matters to them? Meaning like, what is a conversion? What does traffic mean? All that sort of stuff. Yeah, super solid. Let's look at another offer. We target youth sports tournaments. The offer is a gate audit, a free revenue. Check up that reveals how much money your turners are quietly leaking at the gate. We'll use the event as a sample show it's working, what's not, and how much money you could be collecting without raising prices or adding teams. Interesting.
That is interesting.
Checkup. So basically it sounds like what they do is they audit events and try to make them more profitable.
I think that's cool. I bet you're going to have a lot of success with this build, because this is a very unique, obscure niche where there's probably not a lot of other people reaching the same prospects as you with cold emails. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I always love these miscellaneous niches like this. Yeah. I think, I think what's good about this is that just like what we were talking about, the specificity, right? This, like if I was this ICP, I would read this and I'd be like, okay, this guy understands my world. Like he's using the language I would use. And it seems like it's really tailored for businesses like mine. So that's already a great start. Also, like we mentioned earlier in the conversation, doing lead magnets that actually require you to hop on a call with someone. Those are the best lead magnets to give. And also just the highest perceived value, because you're spending like time with them, consulting them. So I think the lead magnet's cool. I think the language is pretty tailored. Maybe you could add in some insights on like how much percentage of revenue they might be leaking, or like anything around what you've seen with your past clients, just to make it a little bit more tangible of like the pain point. That's what I was thinking too. Like oh, we find that people leave
20% on the table at blank, 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 blank. Would love to do an audit to see blah, 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 blah. Because I don't know like what the awareness level of these people could be. And then an example of a past success so that they're more aware of the problems that they could be having that would pique their interest to jump on a call.
Yeah, you brought up a great point, Austin. The awareness level, because if these guys know that they're leaking revenue at the gate and that's a common thing, then maybe this would work pretty well. But if they don't know it, then you'd have to kind of create that need and the awareness by saying, hey, yeah, like you said, most people are 20% are leaving revenue on the table. People are leaving 20% of the revenue on the table or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then maybe like remove revenue checkup. That's kind of like too niche, and yeah, quietly leaking at the gate. Like just be more simple with it would be my feedback. But anyway, all right. How long should I wait before I switch tactics? Like what's a testing protocol? Maybe it's not a time frame. Maybe it's a volume. Like how are you looking at that?
Yeah, we look at it for volume. So the timeline is irrelevant. It's the amount of email sends. So typically 500 to 1,000 email sends per variant. 500 is the soonest. So basically, we're not evaluating any split tests or any campaigns until there's at least 500 sends, again, per variant. So if you have 5 different versions of email one, then each of those should get 500. And that's really like the first checkpoint. Usually then we'll look at it again at 1,000. And if there's the earlier you are in the process of evaluating your tests, the more drastic of a difference there is, the more likely you can draw a conclusion. Meaning, if you have 500 sends and one variation has 3 leads, one variation has 0 leads, then yeah, you can shut off the one that's 0 leads. But if one variation has 2 leads and one variation has 1 leads, that could just be like randomness. So usually we'll let it go on longer till 1,000. And if they're still very close, we'll let it go on longer and longer. So basically, the more volume you have in like a sample size, the more that eventually the true trend is going to show itself, but it can be more volatile in the beginning. So unless there's like a clear difference earlier on, we're then letting it go to like 1,000, 2,000, and then making a call from there.
Yeah, cool. I like it. Sean, do you think audits are a super saturated offer regardless of the industry offer? Are audits dead?
I don't think so. I mean, I think instead of just saying an audit, like maybe talk a little bit more about what you're doing in the audit, like what you're going to look at, the level of depth it is, what they're going to walk away with, how it's going to help their business, how they can actually use your audit to make their life and make their business better. Mm-hmm. So I think you still have to, apply a little bit of salesmanship to when you're telling people you'll do an audit for them. But I don't think they're dead, even if a lot of people do them now. I mean, a lot of people also don't. Like, I don't really get people reaching out to me that often with an audit. Because it takes time and a lot of people are lazy, unfortunately. So, but even if a lot of people are doing it, if it's valuable, it's still valuable, right? Even if a lot of people are hearing about it, at the end of the day, if this thing has value and it helps someone in their business, it doesn't matter that much if a lot of the people are offering it too. If it's at the end of the day something the prospect wants and you can just catch them at the right time.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you were saying: relevance and finesse the copy, and don't say we'll give you an audit, but make it something that people want to actually jump on a call with and learn about.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the best way to approach cold email? Nothing comes to your mind, that's cool. Or we could have Jeffrey drop some more context. Cold email outreach for an offer like a government contracting course. Anything pop to your mind? And if not, we can have Jeff add some more context or skip it.
Yeah, Jeffrey, a little more context would be great. Like who are you selling to and what is the offer? Is it like a course for people on how to do government contracting or to like get government contracts? If that's the case and you are selling like a course to help people with some aspect of their career, I mean, a great thing to do is just offer them like something for free, like the first module, or like a free one-on-one consulting call, or like a one-on-one workshop. So like if you're selling education, offer them some little bit of education for free. It's going to be the easiest way to get people on calls, but feel free to drop some more context if we didn't get that right.
Yeah. I like the workshop angle, especially for like that kind of stuff. I like this one. I have an out-of-home agency. I do strategy planning and buying for all things outdoor advertising. I really struggle with coming up with an ideal lead magnet for my industry. So maybe we'll just talk about lead magnets in general. And maybe if you have ideas for Heather, then we can drop some there. But how do we go about thinking about lead magnets and what's valuable for our customers?
Yeah, so great question, Heather. If you're stuck on that, just start to actually think about your customer journey and write it down if you haven't. And maybe you have this already. Maybe you have a project management tool where you actually list out all the things you do for customer. That's the best place to look for your lead magnets, because really you can just take something that you're already doing for someone who's a paid client and just do that for free. And then you don't have to invent anything new, come up with new processes, and then you already know that it's valuable. And then you're kind of doing a little bit of the work ahead of time. Because then if you take them on as a client, like step one is done. So that's usually going to be a good place to start for ideas. Just look at what's already part of your customer journey. Like if you're doing strategy, planning, buying things, outdoor advertising, like what are the first couple of things you do when you onboard a client to get them a quick win, right? Like what's something easy that you could just do for someone? Like maybe not the full strategy, but maybe like some sort of preliminary strategy, right? Maybe some sort of competitive research, maybe something like, hey, we'll analyze your niche and find you like 5 great media buying opportunities for your industry, like just some small thing you can do for them as a win. But yeah, typically I like to think about what's a step in my process after I've actually signed someone, and just do that earlier.
Love it. I'm going to start rapid firing these a little bit, AJ. To what extent of personalization have you done so far? Can you give us an idea?
Yeah. So we definitely sometimes get pretty crazy with it, especially if we're in a more competitive niche. One of, I guess, my favorite examples recently was we have this one SaaS client. It's like a video marketing SaaS, and they have like a bunch of different use cases for their software to a bunch of different ICPs and a bunch of different industries. In each industry, the job title, the ICP, like uses the software differently. So we're like, holy crap, how are we going to create like 100 campaigns with different messaging? So what we had AI do is like learn all about this client's offer and the different use cases in each different industry. And then it would just basically customize each line of the email based on their industry, their use case, what the tool does, what feature is going to best align with what they do, as well as suggest them like a bunch of ideas on how they can use the software for their specific role at their company and what their industry does. So essentially, we just like personalize every aspect of the email to the industry and the job title, just because we were selling something that was just so different depending on like who used it. But yeah, the sky's the limit with it. I think when it comes to personalization, the lowest hanging fruit is just having AI analyze the prospect's website and just learning like what they do, who they sell to, and using it to like customize your value proposition based on their business. That's like kind of one of the things we do for almost every campaign.
Cool. Good answer. Good example. What if intro line for, let's say, an SEO agency is, I'm interested in your services. If you want to get more leads like these, would you be able to give a few minutes of your time? Thoughts on that?
The intro, I'm trying to understand that. The intro line is,
so basically the email like would say, I'm interested in your services. That's what the prospect would see. And then he says the offer would be, if you want more leads like these, would you give me a few minutes of your time? So he's kind of finessing it a little bit from what I'm reading.
I personally wouldn't do that, because then people will feel like you're lying to them to get them to, like it's kind of like a neat trick, but like you don't just want their attention, you want their trust, right? Because I think people will feel a little bit duped by that. So there's plenty of other ways you can get creative with the copy without doing that. Because I know I actually posted on LinkedIn the other day, someone did this to me, and I made a post, an example of like not to do that.
Yeah.
But someone was like, hey, can I send you 2 clients? I have referrals who want to work with you. And I was like, okay, cool. And then he was like, okay, cool. Well, let me hop on a call first and learn about your, and then I knew it was basically just telling me. So
totally.
Yeah, you don't want to deceive people.
Immediately a wall goes up. Okay, we're going to rapid fire, AJ. So we're going to answer as quickly as possible, because I want to get through these questions, or get these questions as much as possible. Okay. Best way to charge as a cold email agency. What have you seen? What do you do? Any insight there?
I mean, there's just different business models, right? Some people like per meeting, some people like retainer. I like retainer just because I just like the predictable revenue with it. And I think it's like, when you have a retainer, you can invest more in the client. Like I think what I've seen is if some agencies that charge per meeting or per lead, they can't really invest that much of their own resources into like the campaigns, the infrastructure and all that, because they don't have anything until they actually have made some money, right? So I just like having the retainer because I know we can invest a lot in the client and it's the stable revenue. But again, there's really pros and cons to both. So for context, our pricing is 4.5K a month, and then we go higher for like higher levels of volume, if that gives you context. I mean, when I started though, I think it was 3.5, and then we just gradually raised as we got more client results and social proof and upgraded our service. I would say if you're just starting out, I would definitely go with a lower retainer and just kind of build up your case studies. Or like I definitely wouldn't be opposed to doing per meeting or per lead as you're just starting out. Because I think in the beginning, when you're starting out, you just need to get the case studies and the social proof. It's much harder to charge a 5K retainer if you don't have any proof, right? So in the beginning, I'm like, for any like new business or offer or service I'd be running, I'm never concerned about what profit we're making day one. It's just about getting the hang of things, getting our process down, and getting some case studies. So if I was starting a new cold email agency today and I had no like background or track record, I would probably just do like a performance based just so I could get more people to say yes and get going. But yeah, long term, like I like retainer because it's once you start hiring people, it's hard to like hire people and grow if you don't know exactly what you're making each month. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of the performance marketing, unless you're, like not trying to scale and just doing it as one person. You don't have to worry about that then.
No, cool. Just get the sale. Okay. Answers in less than 10 seconds, AJ. We're gonna really rock it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you said say rapid fire. That was
all
rapid
good.
fire.
All good. You kind of did mention this earlier, but just remind us on segmentation. He has 3,000 nice leads. What would be the best segmentation points in your opinion?
Yeah, so definitely industry, company size, and function of the company, like marketing, sales, operations. Those are the big three.
Okay, Durga, I see you copy and pasted your question about 10 times. I don't see a question in there. So if you can add a question, I'm happy to feed it to AJ. Okay, let's see. Perfect. Here we go. How do you find clients for AI automation agency as a beginner in the game?
Yeah, so I mean, I think definitely first LinkedIn. Like I'm seeing a lot of people post these just cool things you're doing with AI on LinkedIn. So I think if you just post workflows or use cases or automations you built on LinkedIn, that's going to be pretty cool. But then also cold email would be, of course, great for that too. I think great thing you could do is offer people an audit of like I'll audit your workflows and come up with 5 ideas of ways you can use AI in your business. Boom.
Should I be running through December? I do e-com marketing. Concerned no one will be responding.
Well, you'll probably get less people in December, but it's better than having no people. So some leads are better than no leads. I think if you don't do anything, your chances of getting a lead is 0. So I would still run it. There's no really harm in keeping it going.
Agreed. Any insight here? Confidence with AI generated customized text.
Yeah, so no matter what you do with AI, it's always going to be prone to hallucinate sometimes. But what we don't do is just fire up an AI prompt and then just like let it go and then send it out. We're always checking the AI prompts. Usually we'll check like 50 rows of leads, see if it came out the way we wanted to, and then fix the prompt if needed. So definitely just check what you do a few times and refine it.
Nice. Ideal size count of the email copy. Anything there?
We try to keep it like 50 to 80 words, 100 words max, which is like 5 sentences.
Yep. Love it. How can we hyper personalize at scale?
So definitely one is segmenting the list so that you're having very, very relevant copy to whoever you're reaching out to. And then second is just using the AI enrichments and instantly to research each lead and say something unique about them.
Love it. I think that's it, man.
Cool.
And
well, this was
about
fun.
out of
I had
time.
a lot of good questions for everyone. Thanks everyone for showing up.
Yeah, is if people do have questions or if they want to learn more about AJ, how you help or get some more sauce from you, where's the best way to find you? How can they reach out to you? How can they follow you, see some of your content?
Yeah, I mean, feel free to shoot me an email if you want to get in touch, aj@revenueboost.net. But also I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, AJ Cassata. And then also I started a YouTube channel not too long ago as well, which is just my name.
Nice. I'll drop it in the comment as well here. There we go. Cool, man. Anything else that we can leave with people to have them feel inspired leaving this conversation? One last piece of sauce, departing words, AJ. What do we got?
Yeah, I think if you're running campaigns and not getting results, just keep going. Like we basically got leads for every single client we've worked with. Some have been really slow at the beginning, but if you keep trying, if you keep testing, if you remember those 5 factors that go into a successful campaign, you keep testing, you're eventually gonna break through because that's just how marketing works. So just keep at it.
Love it. AJ, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for joining. Thanks for participating in questions. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you on the next one.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone.
Ciao.